So I thought about getting a coconut and making a coconut bra, but I'm not gonna do that. It's not that I have too much dignity to do that, I just couldn't find any coconuts.
I just said, yes, man, right away, anything.
So I think it's pretty well established that I lack boundaries, but don't let that stop you from trying out this coconut project. So today we're gonna make Lambanog. I know I'm probably saying that wrong, sorry. Lambanog is a Filipino drink that was suggested to me by one of my Patreon members. He actually joined my Patreon page in order to have direct contact with me so that he could convince me to make Lambanog, because his father is from the Philippines and kind of misses Lambanog, so he wanted to know how to make it. So Lambanog actually comes from the original drink, which was called tuba. And the way they make tuba is if you snip off the end of the coconut flower when it's still just a bud and put a little bucket underneath that flower bud, it will drip sap for days and days and days. And they collect that sap and they just let it ferment, and it'll wild ferment in the field really fast. They would take that and let it turn into a tuba. So that wine is a traditional thing that people just make and drink all the time. You know, as we tend to do when we have something that's fermented and delicious, we say to ourselves, how can I make this stronger? And that's what the Filipinos did. They turned it into Lambanog. So you take your tuba, you distill it, and you got Lambanog. What's interesting is the classification of Lambanog is technically kind of a rum because it's made from sugar. It's not sugar cane, it's palm sugar. The biggest problem for us as hobbyists is that coconut palm sap is really hard to get. I would challenge you to try and find some of the raw sap. I couldn't locate any. And that's because it's got a very short shelf life. So they get it out of the tree and they take it straight to a refinery and start turning it into coconut palm sugar. Which brings us to today's sponsor, Olive Nation. And I'd like to thank Olive Nation for supplying all of the ingredients for today's episode. Firstly, the sugar. They gave me 10 pounds of coconut palm sugar, which we're going to use as our base for the fermentation, and they also gave me a big old bag of coconut chunks. Now both of these are of course available on their website, and here's the good news. If you use my link right here, you're going to get 20% off of your purchase. So if you look down in the video description or the top pinned comment, you're going to see that link. Click on that and you're going to get 20% off your purchase of anything and everything that you get on the store. Check out the link and check out their website. They've got tons and tons of stuff. I almost forgot, we got some of this coconut extract. We're going to use this at the very end of the process. And this smells like coconut meat. If you've ever cracked open a coconut and scooped out some of the meat, it smells exactly like that. I think combining all these ingredients together, we're gonna make something that makes Malibu rum look like shoe polish. And if we can upstage the big guys by what we can do in our kitchen, I call that a win. So that's enough chit chat, let's go ahead and make this stuff. So how are we gonna make this wine to get started? Well, it's pretty simple. We're gonna use 10 pounds of coconut sugar and about a gallon of coconut water. Just make sure it's not the flavored stuff. Check the ingredients, make sure it's just coconut water and it doesn't have a bunch of preservatives in it, because that'll really mess up your fermentation. So we'll take the starting gravity after we get all this together. That's a lot of sugar. As you can see, this stuff does not look like regular sugar, it doesn't look like brown sugar. It's got a much more kind of dry, powdery appearance to it. I have no idea what kind of flavor this is going to give to the wine and then to a hypothetical distillate. But I am very interested to find out. Yeah, I just ate a tablespoon of coconut sugar. It's delicious. Caramel, but it also has kind of a nutty praline kind of flavor to it. The aroma has a coffee kind of background along with the sugar smell, and a little peppery note that is very interesting that I'm not detecting on the taste. So I have no idea how this is going to turn out. I don't think it's going to taste like a rum. Side by side with a rum, I think you'd be like, okay, that's rum, but I don't know what this is. So, Adon, thanks for the idea, dude, because this is going to be a fun one. You saw me struggling to describe the flavors in here. I had to get my wife over here because she's got the super smeller. She could smell the coffee and something else. And I was kind of getting a toast thing, and she said, yes, sugar toast. If you've ever made sugar toast where you put a little butter on some bread, a little sugar on top, toast it in the oven under the broiler, that's what this stuff smells like. She said it kind of reminded her of being in a Tim Hortons or like a Waffle House. It just kind of gave her the flash of being in a diner in the morning. And me too. So how you get that from coconut sugar, I have no idea. But I am really interested to see what's going to happen with it. So let me get the rest of the stuff in here. Sorry I had to take a little pause there, but she's my Jessie when it comes to smelling stuff, and she nailed it. So thanks, baby. Alright, so it looks like we got about a 1.090. My hydrometer is calibrated to 68 degrees. I guarantee this is not 68 degrees. So when I go put it into a correction calculator, I think it'll probably drop a few more points down to 1.092, which would be exactly the same as if I used white table sugar. So that's kind of awesome. As far as I can tell, you can use coconut sugar or table sugar 1-to-1. For whatever you're doing, and your calculations are still going to work out. But you know, you want to always double check with your hydrometer just to make sure. Oh my god. Yeah, my taste assessment of this wash is, it's spectacular. So you get some of the bread crust toasty notes, the sugar, there is some coconut flavor once it's liquefied like this. Like coconut water. Now if that's from the 1 gallon of coconut water that I added and I'm still picking it up, then my taste buds are better than I thought. That coffee note is in there, but it's really soft and round. There's a definite buttery character to this. I'm seeing some coconut oil actually on this. The sugar is not a molasses type sugar, and it's not white table sugar. It's something else, but it's definitely distinctly sugar. So it's kind of hard to classify, but it's delicious. So I've been wanting to get into natural yeast nutrient. So what I've been doing is saving my yeast cake from whatever I happen to be brewing, and then I wash it about 3 times, and then you throw that into a pot with some water and you boil the piss out of it for like 20 minutes and it kills all the yeast. And now I have a big jar of dead yeast. And one of the best nutrients you can give yeast is dead yeast. It helps them to push through just about everything. It's got all the nutrition a growing yeast cell needs. I just wanted to try and make some of my own and see if I can, you know, basically economize on a process that I'm already doing. So now we're going to throw some Distiller's Active Dry Yeast in there. Alright, so now I'm going to put this out in my very hot garage. I think it's about 85 or 90 degrees Fahrenheit out there, and I have a feeling that this is going to like a hot ferment. So catch up with you when it's done. Okie dokie. So our coconut Lambanog wash is done. We're down to 1.000, or maybe just a skosh lower than that. Nice and still, and it smells really good. I'm going to take a little taste. It's incredibly savory. That's interesting. It almost has a salty character. There's a little bit of tang. There's still that tiny little bit of buttery flavor to it. It definitely reminds me of a rum wash. I'm not really picking up any coconut, so I think there's enough of some acid in there to help create some esters. So hopefully we'll get some kind of fruit flavors when this comes back from the liquor fairy. So now that it's done, hypothetically, you could send it to the liquor fairy. But before I send it to the liquor fairy, I have to do one other thing, because I want my liquor fairy to use the thumper. You know, thumpers are great because you can add stuff to them to increase the flavor. So I got these coconut chunks from Olive Nation, along with the coconut sugar and my coconut essence that we're going to do later if we need to add a little bit of extra coconut flavor in there. This is a 2-pound package. I'm going to throw half of this right into the thumper, roughly half. Yeah, close enough. And then we're going to put, oh God, that's so good. Now that I got this in there, we're going to throw about a quart of wash in here. That way our thumper will have a little bit of liquid and all of these coconut chunks to bubble through and give us one more theoretical plate of distillation, because we want it to be as big and as bold and as coconutty as we can. So let's get this all ready, and then we'll call the liquor fairy. All right, so after I summoned the liquor fairy, I put that bucket of wash under my pillow, and then I went to sleep. And when I woke up this morning, I had all these jars of liquor, which is fantastic. Lambanog. So according to the liquor fairy, it was an interesting run because there weren't a lot of aromas coming through in the heads at all. Most of the flavor really starts to come through in the tails. Most of those interesting kind of buttery and cooked sugar notes. The dark toast that we were smelling in the initial wash prior to fermentation, that's right here in the late hearts. Let's go ahead and throw this together and see what we got. I just want to thank all of these folks right down here, all of my Patreons. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for sticking with me and for giving me tons of great ideas. This was one of them, and I've got a bunch more coming up this year. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your support. You are definitely keeping the lights on. So we got this to 62%. I have coconut sugar and a little bit of pineapple ester in here, and to me this is a really nice base spirit. What do we want to do with this? I don't want to age it on oak. I feel like that would be silly. The coconut flavor is so subtle that it would just be obliterated by a heavy charred wood or even a toasted wood, that you would lose the original character of the spirit. So I think, why not just go 100% the other direction and go all coconut? Luckily, we have a pound of coconut left. Thanks, Olive Nation. First things first, we're gonna proof this down to 40%. All right, so now we've got our coconut spirit and coconut mixed together, and you may be noticing it went all cloudy. That's just because of the coconut oil and the crystallized sugar that's on the outsides of these things. It's not luching because this is the raw spirit diluted to 40% ABV with the distilled water. So what if we let this sit for a day and it still is not coconutty enough for our party or whatever we're gonna have? Well, Olive Nation has us covered. I'm gonna go ahead and do about a half a capful in one whole jar. I think this is about 600 mils, something like that, 600 or 700 mils of spirit. Yeah, right off the bat with the smell. Makes Malibu rum taste like garbage. Mmm. Okay, so last night I was editing the video, I was almost done, and I just could not get over the fact that I didn't try one more thing. I still have a little bit of the sugar left that I saved. I wasn't quite sure why I was saving it at the time, but I'm really glad I did. Maybe I'm psychic. The sugar was amazing tasting. It had that weird coffee and buttered sugar toast, that sitting in the diner in the middle of the night kind of aroma and flavor. It was weird and delicious, so I was a little bit disappointed that I didn't get much of that in here. So let's just add some. Maybe a little more than a tablespoon. Bloop. Oh my God. Oh my God. Do that. What I just did, do that. So we got the coconut chunks, we've got a half a teaspoon of the coconut extract, and 1 tablespoon of the coconut sugar. Oh my God. That is amazing. Yeah. Okay, so you can keep it clear, you can throw in coconut, you can throw in some coconut extract. Those are all fantastic. But when you throw in 1 tablespoon of the coconut sugar to about 600 or 700 mils of the spirit with the coconut and the coconut extract, it's stratospherically good. I gotta stop drinking this because I still got a video to edit. Yeah, so one last thing. So as delicious as this is, there's some coconut oil that I was really not paying attention to. I was kind of ignoring it on purpose. But there's coconut oil from the coconut meat. And so that all kind of comes to the top. I gave my wife a sip of this and she was like, it's a little oily.
I said it was delicious.
She did. She said it was delicious, but it was a little, coated her tongue a little bit because there's like a little sheen of oil right on the top. So you can kind of see that oil on the top there. So yeah, let it sit for a week so the flavors marry, then refrigerate it for at least 24 hours so all the oil congeals, then filter it while it's still ice cold, and I think you're going to end up with something spectacular. Okay, so I'm going to put the recipes for everything down in the video description, but also make sure you check out the link for Olive Nation with the coupon code BB20 because we're coming up on baking season and they've got pretty much everything you might need for baking. So do yourself a favor, do me a favor, get some stuff from Olive Nation, and maybe they'll send me some more stuff so I can make more videos. If you're not subscribed, I highly recommend that you subscribe because I've got a ton of new stuff coming up. And if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and hit the like button because it really helps out the channel. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, changes to the recipes, go ahead and post them down in the comments section down below. All right. Thanks for watching. Talk at you later.